Hello and welcome to another edition of BCSN Sports Flash, and tonight it's been kind of a family Fioritto night as we've been talking to a couple of outstanding former Notre Dame volleyball players. We spoke to Amanda Fioritto, who is on the last team until this year that qualified for the regional tournament, and this year we're with her younger sister Morgan Fioritto, who is a coach on this year's team that actually made it to regionals and was a great player herself too. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I remember you played St. Ursula in the regional semifinal, and I just wanted to get my facts straight. So I said, this is the first time since when? And you said since my sister played in the regionals, and you made it again. So it must have been a good feeling to accomplish that, albeit as a coach this year.
No, it was definitely exciting. I mean, I remember the 2007 game watching it as a little sister to a player out there. So it was definitely cool to kind of see it on the other side, being a coach to a team that hasn't been there in so many years. And that was a very exciting time in the program this year.
Well, I can envision you at that time, because I think the first time I ever saw you was our BCSN Beach Volleyball League that was down there downtown. And at that time, and you were, I don't know, must have been 7th or 8th grade, and it never ceases to amaze me how fast the time has gone by. Does it seem to you that the time has flown by pretty fast since then?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely crazy to think I'm already a junior in college. It kind of feels like yesterday I was still in high school playing down at the docks and all that kind of stuff. And I feel old, but I know I'm not. So
no, I think
it's
you got a ways to go yet,
think about.
Especially in present company. You got a ways to go yet. But what do you remember back from your playing days? You had some outstanding teams, even though you weren't able to get to regionals during that time. And St. Ursula, they had a great team, but a little bit of a lull from the total domination that they had before and again after, and they were sort of on that upswing again. But you guys had a really good team too during that period. What do you recall about your playing time?
I think what I remember, and I told the girls kind of this year in the locker room after the regional semifinals this year, you're never going to remember your statistics. You're not going to remember what your record was or any of that, but you're going to take away the people and relationships you form when you play. And that's definitely kind of what I've taken away. My best friends are people I've met through volleyball, and I mean, those are friendships I'll have for a lifetime.
And having said all that, which is absolutely true, winning is still nice.
Oh, no, it's definitely a nice part of it too, but it's definitely not, for me, that's not what I took away as the best thing from sports and athletics.
No question, and I think that's probably what most people would say, having gone through it. That having been said, you've got a team next year. You did really well this year, and almost everybody back. Had the Spiewijk twins in here on this show recently, and I think back in their freshman year, they said at some point during our career, we're going to win the track, we're going to go to states. Do you think they can fulfill that next year? I
mean, I definitely think they can. Like you said, we're not really changing. There's not huge gaps. We didn't graduate I remember my senior year, we graduated our starting 6 people. So the class after us, that's a huge deficit to fill. But I definitely think everyone is kind of ready to come back next year, fired up, ready to go. And I think it can only keep getting better, and which is what it has been doing. And so it's exciting.
We had an interesting conversation beforehand, and talking about both you and your sister were great players, had plenty of opportunities to play college volleyball at the next level, and both maybe felt like you wanted to move on to another stage in life. And maybe you could talk about what led you to that, and maybe did it have something to do with playing the year-round volleyball thing for so long, and perhaps getting a break and maybe doing something different every now and then might not be a bad idea for young players coming up.
I mean, volleyball was the only sport I played basically year-round since 2nd grade, so by the time I was a senior, that's 11 years gone by of one sport. So I definitely would advocate being a multi-sport athlete. Different skills you can pick up from each of it, and you wouldn't get as burnt out as, say, a one-sport athlete does, and like I did. And that's definitely, if I could go back, I would want to change that.
Yeah, and there's a lot, as you say, a lot of cross-training benefits that you might not even get if you keep playing the same sport constantly, from not to mention just changing things up and being more refreshed when the actual season starts. What are you doing now as far as what's your interest in studying, and what do you hope to accomplish after your graduation?
I'm currently a junior at the University of Toledo. I'm studying healthcare administration. So through sports, I've always kind of
figured out all the Obamacare laws and everything.
No,
yet?
I have not figured those out yet at all.
Well, you joined the club.
But being in sports and around sports, I was always around doctors. Never had major injuries, but had minor. And while I don't think I could ever be a doctor, I definitely have an appreciation for the healthcare field and would definitely like to stay in that maybe and kind of work administratively through kind of the sports end of things, so I can kind of merge my two main passions in life.
We've had a lot of our athletes that have very commendably wanted to get into that healthcare field, be it in nursing or administration, and it's certainly very admirable. Now, talk about switching from being a player to a coach. This is your second year coaching, and you actually are still coaching some players that you played with. Is it a lot different? Was it kind of something that was hard to figure out how to handle things when you first began to coach?
It was, when I first began, it was kind of difficult because I'm definitely the type of person I'd rather be out on the court than on the sideline. So kind of knowing that I can't just hop out there whenever I want to was definitely difficult to have to sit back and just kind of watch.
You can't hit the ball
for
them.
No, you can't. I can't do it for them, but I can kind of help them do it in practice. But that was definitely probably the hardest thing I had to kind of come to terms with, is that I'm done playing. Now I can help others be players.
Yeah. So what about the relationship, which sometimes tenuous, between coaches and players, having been on the playing side pretty recently? Does that help you be kind of, as an assistant coach now, a buffer between the coach and the player? You can relate to them still quite a bit because some of them were even on the team when you were on the team, and certainly you're not that far removed from when you were doing what they're doing.
That's definitely something I tell the girls at the start of the season, like, you can relate to me. I went to Notre Dame. I took the same classes as you. I had the same teachers. I've played and coached with the staff that's there now, so if they have questions about it, I definitely encourage them to kind of talk to me about it, because I can give them a perspective that, say, a male coach could never give them, because clearly they never went to Notre Dame, they never played women's volleyball, and
which is a lot different.
It's very different than
from
men's and women's. It's very different. So I kind of like being, and along with the two other Notre Dame alums that are also coaching there, I kind of like that the girls there now have people to relate to.
As a coach, do you see things now? It's like, oh, I didn't understand why this was being done when I was a player, but now that you're on the other side of the fence, it's like, hey, the lights come on. I do understand some things now.
Yeah, it's definitely easy to kind of, you can sit back now and kind of think about things more so than when you're a player. I think when you're a player, you're more emotional about things that happen, and when you're a coach, like, you have to be practical and think things through, and it's not as emotional as when you're a player. Why is this happening? What did I do wrong? And that you can sit back now and explain things.
Right. Would you like to be a head coach someday?
I've been asked that before. I don't, definitely
never
not when I'm
never on TV.
Never on TV, but it's definitely something I want to keep continuing to do. I love being around volleyball and being able to share my passion for it in a different way other than playing. So down the road, I'd love to keep coaching.
Well, I'm certain you'd be excellent at it.
Thank you.
And it's great that you're still continuing to give back to the game, even though you're not actively playing anymore, and involved in a lot of other very interesting things as well. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me, of course.
That's Morgan Fioritto, and this edition of BCSN Sports Flash, Greg Franke saying so long.